Ivar. So I'll just start pronouncing my name, Tanja Obradović, and thank you, Mary. That was a great pronunciation over there. And it's always a struggle. And as Mary pointed out, I'm Jakarta EE Program Manager, and I very, very closely work with
Ivar,
take it over.
and I'm the Jakarta EE Developer Advocate at Eclipse Foundation. And together we are doing this Jakarta EE virtual tour. We started in 2020 and we continue in 2021. So, yeah. and our topic has been Jakarta EE9 and beyond. And we started actually before Jakarta EE9 was released, and now 9 is out, and we're getting to next release afterwards.
Yeah, we're having even beyond 9 now.
Yes,
truly.
We do. So what we're going to do is to give some background on Jakarta EE in general. We're going to talk about Jakarta EE9, and then we're going to talk about what's happening after Jakarta EE9. That is what's happening right now and in the future. So let's take it away. Jakarta EE, you're probably familiar with this logo, the sailing ship by now. And I'll just show you quickly how we got to this name. And some of you are probably familiar with the Java community process that was run by Oracle. And Java EE was one of the technologies that was governed by the JCP. And when Oracle decided to move all these technologies over to an open source foundation, the Eclipse Foundation was selected, and we established the EE4J projects with all these technologies that are implementations, the tests, and the specifications. And based out of these projects, we create the Jakarta EE specifications. And the name Jakarta was a community effort to figure out what we were going to call this thing, because EE4J wasn't useful or wasn't a very good name and nobody liked it. It was just kind of it's a top level project name, so we don't use it very much. And we wanted to, what we're going to call these technologies, and we landed on a couple of names, and one of them were Jakarta. And you probably remember the Jakarta project at Apache Foundation. And this has been a top level project for all the Java projects at Apache, but it has been dormant for a while, and it's been parked and wasn't active. So we asked if we can get the Jakarta name, and we got it. So it's moved over there, and that's where Jakarta EE came from. And our webpage is jakarta.ee. So if you remember one thing from this talk, it should be jakarta.ee. It's super simple to remember, and if you haven't visited it yet, then just type it into the browser and bookmark it, and that's where you find all the information. So I think I've been talking a lot now, Tanja, so I think maybe you should take over.
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit, and then I'll hand it to Ivar again, just if you were wondering. So what we have decided, and actually since it has been contributed to Eclipse Foundation, we wanted to make sure that we become as open as possible. So it's not just that we're opening the code, we're opening the whole specifications. And what exactly does that mean? So I will explain you on the next slide. So in our open specifications, we actually first created the specification process that will enable us to openly work on these specifications. So there are quite a few differences from the JCP process and the process that we used to have while in Oracle. But here are some, I would say, key differences from the process that Java EE was used for development of the specifications. So what we're focusing on is to ensure that we do not develop the specification documents first. We actually want to see the code first, and code that will actually prove that something is worthy of the specification, of a specification, and develop the specification document afterwards. We also want to make sure that we're even more collaborative than what used to be the case. So any specification has its own, of course, project team formed around it, and everyone on the team has absolutely equal rights. We do have a project lead, and that is out of necessity to have a point of contact. You know, instead of reaching the whole team, there is always the lead who is kind of having equal rights in terms of development, but additional responsibilities in terms of communicating or helping organize the team. We also have now a situation where not just the code is open source, but we have the specification documents as well as tests, technology compatibility kits are now fully open, and the fact that TCKs are now open is causing extra excitement in development community, because now you can see what is required in the tests, and you can actually influence the tests that are used for you know, claiming one product or implementation is compatible or not. And talking about the compatibility, we are moving away from the notion of having a single reference implementation as we used to have in the JCP, but rather opening the opportunity to have any of the implementations become compatible implementations. Of course, there is always a requirement to have at least one compatible implementation at the time of the finalizing or releasing the version of the specification, but we're welcoming as many compatible implementations as possible. And also there is a self-certification process. So to claim the compatibility, anyone can actually run the tests and pass those tests and become certified. And particularly for the component specifications, there is no requirement in terms of there is no financial obligation to go through the certification process. That is only required for the platform and profile specifications as a collection of the component specifications. So let's see, what am I talking about next, Ivar? You're in charge of slides.
Yeah, so now you're going through the actual process.
To the actual process, right? And what we have here is, if you kind of just a little bit neglect those shaded boxes, so creation review, plan review, progress review, and release review, the creation of the ratified final specification, or simply call it specification version, you can see it's not very different from any other development process. You have a proposal on the table, you start the development, you reach certain milestones, and you're ready to get to the particular version, and at the end you make sure that it is all ready for the final release, and you produce the specification. And if you want to start the new version again, a new development cycle, then you go to the plan. So why these reviews? We have a specification committee who is in charge of creating, not just creating the process for development of the specifications, but ensuring that the process has been followed. So in order to do that, there are required review periods where actually the teams, specification teams, are engaging the specification committee and making sure that, who's making sure that the process is followed as expected, and all the artifacts are presented as needed, so we can produce the quality versions of the specifications.
So let's talk a little bit about what a specification is then, or kind of recap what you said in the first slide, that the artifact the specification is part of.
So artifacts that are necessary in order to finally reach the point of producing a specification version are, as I was saying, a specification document, then our interface or APIs, and technology compatibility kit. All of these are absolutely necessary in order to produce the version, and to actually have it run against, test it against a particular implementation and make sure that it works. We also need a compatible implementation. So with that, we can produce a final specification, or the version, a version of a certain specification. And I believe now we'll talk about compatible implementations, which is super exciting slide for us, right, Ivar? We're over the moon with the amount of compatible implementations that we have. And please, everyone, be impressed as we are, because our list is continuously growing, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
Ivar, do you want to?
Yeah, all of these are then Jakarta EE 8 compatible. And the list for Jakarta E9 isn't that big yet. Currently we have Glassfish and Open Liberty. But it is growing, and Wildfly is just around the corner, and then the others will pop in as we go. Right. And all of these specifications can be found on the Jakarta EE/compatibility. That's where you find the compatible products on the web page. So we've been talking about Jakarta EE, how it came about. We've been talking about the processes, and we looked at how a specification is built up with all the artifacts involved, and we looked at the compatible products. So now we're going to shift over to talk about Jakarta E9 in specifics. And Jakarta E9 is a lot of specifications. The actual Jakarta E9 platform specification has two profiles, two specifications. We have the full specification, and we have the web profile. And as you see here, they are consists of or collect together lots of specifications, and the web profile is a subset of the platform specification. So if you download a runtime that has everything, then you have everything. If you want a slightly smaller runtime, you can have the web profile, and many of the runtimes also support kind of a pluggable way that you kind of select which modules you want to activate to get your runtime smaller. And I think there are 34 specifications in total.
So why do we have a different colors of the specifications on this slide?
Yeah, so the blue ones are the ones that are pretty active development, or those we expect will have some moving parts in the future. The gray ones are the more stable technologies that probably won't evolve that much. If somebody picks it up, then fine, it will probably be developed. But otherwise, it's stuff that we see. It's there, it works. We don't have to do so much about it. And Jakarta EE9 is available right now. You can get it from the compatibility/download webpage. It's still on the Jakarta EE webpage. And there you can see it. Right now it's Glassfish and Open Liberty, but you will find more as we go. And Jakarta EE9 has 3 themes: the lower entry barriers, the platform for innovation, and the easy migration. And why don't you take us through these 3 themes, Tanja?
Sure. So then just quickly, the lower entry barriers. So we wanted to make sure that we enable new vendors to implement the specifications and come to the market. So with this, we were trying to reduce some of the code that is not necessarily or not require implementation of some of the specifications that are not being used anymore, and enable and kind of attract others to look into our specifications for the implementation. We also wanted to ensure that actually this is the platform and base layer for all specifications teams to think a little bit ahead and in the future, and figure out what exactly do they need to do in order to enable innovation in the specifications. So we truly, with the move to Jakarta EE9, are expecting that it will be much easier for the community to get involved and start innovating on the existing or potentially even introducing new specifications. So for that reason, we call it Platform for Innovation. And then as a third one, easy migration, we wanted to make sure that the adoption of the Jakarta EE9 is relatively easy. So what we mean by that, without a lot of new features and a lot of changes elsewhere. There is one big change that we are going to talk about shortly, but with that change, enable easy migration of applications, tools that are supporting this space, and vendors that are already implementing these specifications. So the big change that we have introduced and needed to introduce is the change of the namespace. So Ivar, why don't you take the namespace part?
Yeah, sure. So you probably have heard that the thing of Jakarta EE9 is that we move from the Java X to the Jakarta namespace. And that is something that is necessary, and it enables us to move freely forward. And but I think that rather than me just sitting here talking about what this means, I'll show a demo and show how this migration can be done in code. And for that, I've created a application that I'm going to run on Glassfish 5. It's called Complete Duke, and then I'll and it's written in Jakarta EE8. Then I'm going to switch it to Jakarta EE9, do all the changes I have to do to get it to run there, and run it on Glassfish 6. And the application I'm creating is a pretty common application. It has 3 layers. It has a REST layer that uses a Jakarta REST and produces a JSON output. And it has some business logic service in an EJB or in Jakarta Enterprise Beans that uses a Jakarta persistence implementation that retrieves some data from the database. And also, just for fun, I created a CDI extension that does some logging when it's deployed. So it kind of moves around and touches a lot of these technologies, and I'll show you how what you have to think of when doing this migration. So I'll switch to the IDE, and let's first take a look at the code, and then I'll run it, and then I'll move it to Jakarta Jakarta EE9, and we'll see how it does. So I have the resource class. It produces a JSON message from a HTTP GET request, and it uses this Duke service to find a greeting, and the Duke service is then again using a repository to find a greeting, and it just finds everything that I have in the database. It takes the first one, and if there aren't any, it will just write a hi message and something undefined. And the repository class is using the Jakarta Persistence API to query the database. So it's a very simple application. It doesn't do very much fancy stuff, but it does some regular things that you usually do. I've also added this CDI extension here, or I created my custom annotation, and this annotation is just it has a message attribute, and I have this CDI extension that looks for this annotation when the annotations are processed. And it just logs this message in the server log and said, "Hey, I found this," and print the message. And that's about it. And if I run this one, let's just open up the oh, sorry. Let's see it there. And find it. So I have it here. I'll just deploy it, and then we can look in the server log that something is hopefully going on soon. Oh, I think I did something here. Just there you go. It's always good to compile it properly. So there, let's do it again, deploy it, and look at the log. So what we're looking for is that it will, when it does this deploy, it should be writing this Duke message to the server log. And you can see it's writing stuff here, and here you can see the message. It says, "Hi there." And if I try this application and run it, I guess this is Glassfish 5. So if I go to the Complete Duke hello endpoint it should write how the Jakarta EE8, which is shows that it does the stuff it's supposed to do. So let's move this application over to Jakarta EE9. And the first thing I do then is to go into the POM file, find the Jakarta dependency, and just switch this one from 8 to 9. And then I'm just going to let my IDE know about this. So I'm just reloading the project. And what you'll see then is that the classes I have here will start getting compilations errors because the imports aren't there anymore. Let's see what's happening here. Just remove this one. So here you can see the JavaX classes can't be found anymore. So here I'm doing everything manually. You can of course do this with some text replacement, or use some tools for this, but I'll do it manually just to show that it's not that hard. And in some cases you need to take some care so you choose the correct imports. But in most cases you could actually just search and replace JavaX with Jakarta. But you can see some of them here are extension is a pretty widely used name, so just make sure that you pick the correct one. And that sort of applies to all your imports. That just make sure you don't import something that you weren't your intention to do. So most of them are resolving pretty nicely by themselves. I'm almost done. And of course there are some JavaX classes that are still in the JDK, so you cannot search and replace everything. There are some transactions, some security, and some SQL classes that are still in the JDK. So it's not doesn't apply to everything. So that's why I actually recommend to do it fairly manual, or at least check that you're doing the right thing. So now I've changed all the import statements in the Java sources, but there is actually more, because you probably have some sort of configuration files, and configuration files in Jakarta EE are often XML files, and XML files have namespaces. So a namespace for these XML schemas have actually changed as well. And we've changed to using HTTPS, and we're using Jakarta.ee, and the rest is the same. So this is W3, so it's not changed, but this one has changed. You can see all the jcp.org has changed to Jakarta.ee, and it could be that you're actually using something other than JCP as well, because this is something that we usually are kind of sloppy doing. So many of you may have sun.com namespaces here or something like that. So this is a good time to get this stuff cleaned up. And you see the schemas actually have the version number in the file name as well. So when we change everything, you can see that IntelliJ here sees that something is not right, and I haven't updated the version here as well. So when everything is correct, it validates fine. And persistence.xml is one of these files. You probably have some others. You may have WebXML or some other descriptive files out there. Then you have the properties, and here you can see I'm using some persistence properties, and these have the JavaX prefix as well. So here it's to change to Jakarta. And also here, make sure that these properties are actually properties that you are changing or are supposed to change. So now I'm pretty much done, but you can also see that my CDI extension here, which is just a marker file or a bootstrapping file, having the class name of the CDI extension, it has the name of JavaX Enterprise. So this one is actually a file name that you have to rename. So I'll just rename this to Jakarta Enterprise. So we've been very careful not to change anything other than the JavaX to Jakarta. All the package names, everything else is just the way they were. And that is the ISO migration step. So I think I'm pretty much done with this one now. So I'll go ahead and deploy it to Glassfish 6. I'll deploy it there, and we should be able to see in the log that the CDI extension prints a message for us there.
So Ivar, while it's compiling, I guess the comment that is important to say is that you developed a small demo, but the demo that has all the elements of a true enterprise application. So there are kind of pointers where people should look once they start migrating.
Yeah, that's true. It's for a hello world application, it's extremely complex, but for an enterprise application, it's not that super complex, but it has all the sort of elements that a regular application may have. So here you can see it writes the message out. So let's see if the endpoint is responding as it should as well. So I'll go to Glassfish 6 and go to the complete Duke and say hello here. And it returns, howdy, Jakarta EE 8. Oh, so there is one more thing you need to change, and that is the dynamic. So it may be change everything in your code, but it could be that you have something in the database. You can have the JavaX namespaces in the database, for example, or some properties or something. So you may have to go there and oh, sorry, the wrong button there. Let me see if I can remember where I go. Oh my god. Yeah, there you go. So select from greeting and run this one. So you may have properties and you may have fully qualified class names that you're having in the database that you're using reflection to look up. So it's not always that is just a simple message like this one. It could be much more complex stuff. But remember your dynamic data as well. And now you can see it returns the correct message. So I took it very carefully here. You can do it more kind of brute force and go through it, but remember all these kind of places where you have to consider depending on how your application is. And that are, first update the POM file, then you fix all the imports. You can do this kind of on project level if you want. Then remember the XML schema namespaces and the properties files that are Jakarta specific and prefixed with JavaX should now be Jakarta. If you have any bootstrapping files like CDI Extension, I showed you here. And also verify your data and dynamic content. If you're kind of concatenating strings to make up create a class name or something, this is where things may go wrong. And if you want to check out this and do this kind of exercise yourself, you can find the complete Duke under my Jakarta EE Duke repository on GitHub. And there is actually a tutorial that takes you through all these 6 steps. You can try it out yourself. So that was the namespace, and that was Jakarta EE9, and now we're in the midst of working with Jakarta EE9.1, and a couple of weeks ago we passed the platform plan review. There were no specification plan reviews because we want to focus on getting Java 11 support. And at the latest March 11 or March 10, we wanted to file the platform release review so we can release Jakarta EE9.1 on March 25. And I just got an email like 2 minutes before this.
Breaking news! Breaking news!
It's pretty new, yeah. So there is we have OpenLiberty passes 99.9% of the TCK, and we have Glassfish passing 0%. And the problem is that we cannot use OpenLiberty as the compatible implementation because OpenLiberty doesn't implement the optional parts of the entity bean spec, which quite frankly probably nobody uses. And but since the first compatible implementation has to implement all the optional parts, we have to rely on Glassfish. So let's hope that we can see some test coverage coming up in the next couple of weeks, or otherwise this date is probably going to be pushed a little bit out, but we'll see. Hopefully it will just loosen up.
But we have another breaking news that RC1 for APIs is available for 9.1, right?
Yeah, and that is quite frankly it's you can update your POM file with none of one RC1, but the effect would be 0 because it's exactly the same as 9.0 was. So that is just kind of if you want to pretty up your code and use a release candidate and feel that you're on the edge, but you're really not. But
feel that you're on the edge.
It's a safe way of being on the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what's next?
Yeah, so 9.1 is kind of that's part of 9 in the way I see it, and after 9, well, it could be 9.2 or it could be 10, most likely 10, but we'll see. What we have there time-wise is that we want to have plan reviews for all the specifications that want to do something by April 15. And we want that plan review to have something in there that they can implement within 6 months. And if you count the months forward, you didn't get it from me, but that will put the release date somewhere in mid-October for Jakarta E10. That is what we are kind of thinking of, and we'll see if we can make that. But that's sort of the plan. And what could Jakarta E10 contain then? There are some work on CDI Lite. They're doing some pretty good work and prototyping now to get a way a little bit to change the extension mechanism. The one I demoed in my my demo here, to use also a more little less dynamic approach to be more friendly for compiling to native. So you can compile it and using GraalVM to compile to a native image. And parts of that could be a part of Jakarta E10. We'll see where they go and how far they get. And they have weekly meetings, and it's pretty good progress in that team, I think. We want to look at the release cadence, and what we have decided is to let this release cadence be sort of growing out of how we do things. And if we manage to get these plan reviews by April 15 and a release by October, and then maybe next plan reviews in October and then a release in April again, well, then we've established a 6 months release cadence, and that is 6 months faster than what we actually were hoping for. So if we can do that, that's fine. If we can manage to do that, but it could also be a yearly release cadence. So we'll kind of let that grow on us. we want to decouple a little thing, and it's mostly in the TCK work that they're kind of entangled a little bit together, and some of the specifications depend on each other. So if we do changes some places, they have this ripple effect of going through. So we have to have this kind of a train of specification releases in order to release the platform, and we want to make it a little bit more decoupled, so it's easier. We don't really know how to do it, but we'll see if we can figure out something. We want to have some predictability regarding Java SE versions, and a guess is we're now on 9.1 will be on 11, 10 will probably be 11 as well, but we'll see if we can raise the minimum Java SE versions to be to the closest LTS or something like that. We'll figure out something. We want to look at some new APIs, and candidates there are NoSQL. They are working on their spec. They are probably not likely to be able to make a release in October if we release 10 then, so they will probably come in later. But they can need some help there, especially on the implementation side. So the specification is pretty good, but it gets good shape. But the on the implementation side, there could be some more help. Jakarta MVC is currently in release in 2.0. So that's a candidate we are planning to propose for Jakarta E10 as a part of the web profile. And that kind of fits pretty well with the server-side rendering being popular again. So we'll see how that goes. And we're also in discussions with the microprofile working group doing looking at how to we can reference the APIs between and how it makes much sense to do it. So some sort of configuration mechanism would be nice to have. And then we're looking at some possible updates to existing specifications. And this is something that the Jakarta EE ambassadors has been very kind to look at and produce some documents around. And Jakarta security is something we want to do some updates. The first version was kind of the basic stuff, and now we need some more convenient things like JSON Web Tokens, OpenID, Connect, OAuth, and that kind of stuff. Concurrency, we want to have some CDI alignment across all specifications, so they have some. There are some convenience annotations that could be nice to have there, and also to fully align with the CDI. For messaging, it's the same. We started some work in I think it was JMS3 with CDI alignment, but we want to do it even more. Maybe have messaging beans being CDI beans. Support some other protocols and stuff like that. Jakarta persistence. It's a spec that is pretty widely used. So multi-tenancy support, some standardized caching mechanisms, and updates here and there to the query language, and simplify a little bit how we do things. Jakarta REST has a little piece back left until they are fully CDI aligned. They're working on Java SE bootstrapping and multi-platform data as well. And some other applications have some, or specifications have some talk around where they can do some updates. I know Jakarta Faces is planning something, and whatever, if any one of you are interested in participating in these specifications, then look up the Jakarta Ambassadors site and check out their document, check out the issue trackers in the specifications, and see where you can go and help. So that's about it. Tanja, do you want to summarize for us?
Well, I think you covered it all, but particularly in terms of, kind of pointing out the Jakarta E9 is, we call it the platform for innovation. So it's a perfect time for people to jump in and get involved and see what is their interest, and then consider implementing, and that's why we lowered the entry barriers. And for everyone who already is using Jakarta EE, this release is enabling easy migration. So again, I think what we want to point out is keep your eyes on our website. We are putting all kinds of information there, and we hope that you will find it useful. You please let us know how can we improve. If you have enterprise Java related blogs, Jakarta Blogs Aggregator is available to you. Ivar is publishing every week his hashtag Jakarta EE blog, and I'm doing at least a monthly update blogs and a little bit more. So depending on how frequent you want to get your information on Jakarta EE, you can look for the information there. And there is a jakarta.ee/connect page. You can connect with the community, you can connect with the working group, you can actually connect with the mailing list of a particular project, which I strongly encourage everyone to do. And pick your project and just get involved. It would be fantastic to see some of the Chicago JUG faces get involved in Jakarta EE. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I see we have a comment in the chat from Garrett here, and I'll just encourage you to go connect with the security project, and they will be happy to discuss on the mailing list. So just go to the connect page that we showed you in the previous slide. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, and Garrett, if for whatever reason you cannot find it, do get in touch with us. We will find it. We will connect you there. I'll be looking for Garrett Jones to make sure he is looped in and welcome him.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you. And does anyone have any questions for Tanja and Ivar? Oh, Garrett, you came from Twitch. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I just did my Twitch. So yeah, I was telling folks, come over here and watch it. Tanja and Ivar, so that's great. Yeah, I'm glad. Garrett, thank you for coming over here. So kind of a cross-pollination, advertising events everywhere. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Mary. And just for people who are actually going to look at this as a recording, hopefully a little bit later, if you have any follow-up questions or comments or anything, do feel free to get in touch with Ivar or me, and we'll be happy to communicate and figure out how to move this technology and make it better.
That's great. Yeah, wonderful. I guess I may just have one question, not so much of a question, just to confirm. So Ivar, if we are migrating, right? So is it I copy down your repo? So that would be like the best guide to know how to migrate, right?
That's a pretty good guide. It's it has the complete Duke sample there has a README file where you have step by step how to do it, and I have a separate branch which is on the Jakarta EE 8 version. So you just check out that branch, then you do the migration, and then you can compare it to the master branch and see, because that's the solution there. So it's step by step.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And also, I kind of a more curiosity question. You mentioned like Jakarta concurrency. So does it, is it going to also maybe have some sort of integration like with Project Loom, for example? Like now it seems like Project Loom, everybody's talking about like virtual threads and concurrency. So I'm kind of more like curious to find out if Jakarta concurrency might be incorporating from that.
Yeah, I don't know the details exactly how they may do things, but I mean, when we move on, Loom is a part of 16, isn't it?
I think 18. Yeah, it's already, I think, is it out for preview? But I thought I heard like 18, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I think we, with Jakarta EE 10, we'll probably set a minimum of Java SE 11 support. So we move a couple of versions before we move beyond 17, and if Loom is coming after 17, then maybe we have to wait for what will the next one? Is it?
It will be
25 or something like that. So
yeah.
So, but it is interesting, and the only way to make it happen is to join the discussion there and make it happen.
That's right. Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so does anyone have any more questions for Tanja and Ivar? I guess Tanja and Ivar are very easily reachable. So if anybody have questions, you can always reach out to them. And also myself too, seems like I'm like doing more and more work with you now. I'm actually switching over to helping out with the Liberty. So yeah, that will be all open liberties, all depending on Jakarta EE. So yeah, so I will be, even I myself will be working with you more. So
yeah, excellent.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, yeah, we're one big happy family. So,
what can we do?
yeah, that's right. Thank you. Okay, well, I guess if no one has any more questions, then I think we can end. I'll just end the recording here, and everyone is welcome to stay behind and chat a bit more too. But I will turn off the recording now. So.